Hey, hi everyone. So today in this video, we are going to talk about Azure data engineering, right? So basically, we'll talk about Azure Data Factory, Azure Data Lake Storage, and Azure Synapse Analytics, and how can we start our journey towards to be a Azure data engineer. So basically, first thing to be known as a Azure data engineer is Azure Data Factory, Azure Data Lake, and Azure Synapse Analytics. These are the basic tools that can be used for the data engineering part. So let's first discuss about Azure Data Factory. So Azure Data Factory is the data ingestion tool basically. So let's say we have a particular data, semi-structured or structured data into particular systems. So let it be a REST APIs or any other CRM systems, and we need to ingest that data from these particular sources. So for the data ingestion part, basically data factory, Azure Data Factory is used. So let's keep it simple in this video. What is the Azure Data Factory? The basic work of Azure Data Factory is to ingest data from the multiple sources. Okay, so it offers variety of activities that we can use to develop a pipeline. So basically, Azure Data Factory is a data ingestion tool that is widely used for data engineering part when we are talking about Azure data engineering. Then the next part is Azure Data Lake Storage. So this is also a important part actually basically. So whenever we are ingesting the data from multiple sources, let it be any of the source. It can be a CRM systems or on-premise systems or any XYZ systems. So as per the architecture, we should store that data first of all in Azure Data Lake Storage. So Azure Data Lake Storage is basically a blob st- uh, a blob storage. Means Azure Data Lake Storage is built on top of blob storage, which is the service of Azure. So here we can store the data in multiple formats. Let's say if it is a CSV format, if it is a Parquet or XML or JSON, we can store that data into the Azure Data Lake storage. So basically, Azure Data Lake is the data storage system that every Azure data engineer should be aware of. The next part comes is Azure Synapse Analytics. Azure Synapse Analytics basically it is a combination of both the Azure Data Factory and the what I can say a Databricks notebooks basically. So here we can run the Databricks or Python notebooks also, and the it also supports the data ingestion activities. Means some part of Azure Data Factory is integrated into the Azure Synapse. Okay, so basically it is a integrated tool which supports data ingestion plus data warehousing plus data transformation. The next part, when our data is ready, when we are ingesting the data from Azure Data Factory, we'll put it into Azure Data Lake and we'll use it for data transformation in data warehouse. And we can simply connect that Azure Synapse data warehouse tables to the Power BI. So Power BI is nothing but the uh, analytical tool that can be connected to the Azure Synapse. So if you are planning to start your Azure data engineering journey, so or if you want to become Azure data engineer, basically you should be aware of these four technologies. First is Azure data engineering, second is Azure data lake storage, third one is Azure Synapse Analytics and Power BI. Azure Databricks is also an important part here, but uh, these Azure Synapse and Azure Databricks are mostly similar things. It is also it will be also in addition if you are aware about Azure Databricks. But the main three stacks will be Azure Data Factory, Azure Data Lake Storage, and Synapse. So this is generally a basic overview. So in coming videos, we are going to start in detailing about Azure Data Factory, how we can develop a pipelines in Azure Data Factory with respect to different workflows, means how can we schedule a incremental load, how can we go with a full load. We'll try to complete all the factors, all the activities in the Azure Data Factory, and all the basic uh, things in the Azure Data Factory. Also, we are going to start with Azure Data Lake and Azure Synapse Analytics. So this was the basic video or basic understanding that what should be the next roadmap for a Azure data engineer. Basically, you should be aware about Azure Data Factory, Data Lake, Synapse, and Power BI. These are the four main factors that should be known to every Azure data engineering. So in coming upcoming videos, we are going to explain a detailed playlist for the Azure Data Factory, Azure Data Lake Storage, and Synapse Analytics. Yeah, thank you everyone for watching this video. Please subscribe the channel for upcoming videos. Thank you.